Hello everyone, welcome to the very first show of Crafting Leaders. The intent of having this show is to bring together all the leaders of different professions and sectors and to get insights of their journey to the top. Now we all know that there are no set rules to scale towering heights and there are no definitive solutions for stellar performances, but we want to understand the mindset, the tactics, the resiliency of the leaders that they have used while facing the challenging situations and how they have taken the decisions to come out of those challenging situations. Like I said, this is a show of crafting leaders and I will be introducing one leader in my show. Without any further ado, let me introduce you to our very first leader and who is none other than Vipul Kocher. Vipul, it is nice to have you and a very good afternoon.
Very good afternoon to you.
Now Vipul is known for his charismatic leadership qualities. He is the co-founder and he is the Chief Soul Officer for School of Applied Learning in Testing. He is also the president of Verity Software, which is a company engaged in teaching testing to the testing professionals. In past, Vipul has founded companies like Pure Testing, whatistesting.com. Now looking at the plethora of tasks that he is handling in the current times, he is a very active convener for Step In Forum, which is not-for-profit community for the tester. So welcome Vipul once again to Crafting Leaders Talk Show. Looking at a lot of leaders in the current times that we had, and why I chose the leaders who I've worked very closely with is that everyone can relate to the kind of insights and the lessons that you are going to share. Now, values, I would say, are very core to any leader. Values are something which the leader would live by and would like to follow and imbibe in his any kind of decisions. So if I had to understand from you, what are the three very core values which any established leader should demonstrate to his organization?
So, whether I am fit enough to reply to that question or not, I leave that judgment to you. To me, the most important part of being a leader is not being a leader. The moment you start thinking of yourself as a leader, you create a hierarchy. You create a hierarchy between you and the people you are supposed to be leading. So how to be a leader without being a leader, that's an essential thing. And since you asked for three, I would try to come up with three. There can be a huge list of values that a leader should probably have. The most important part that I personally feel is love. Unconditional love. Unconditional love for the work that you do, for the people you work with, for the product, for your customers. And so when you think of your product and you place it ahead of us, when you think of your customers and place them ahead of yourself, ahead of anything else, that actually makes for a successful thing. Commitment is another one. There are instances when people don't like you doing certain things, when people express doubts, and when you are in self-doubt, then whatever you start to do, it actually gets plagued with a lot of problems. So conviction is very, very important. Without commitment, I believe nothing can be achieved. Empathy. While unconditional love flows equally in all directions, and when you look at these leaders, if you do not feel for the people, understand their travails, understand what kind of tribulations they may be undergoing, what are their aspirations and so on, and in the larger good, how things should happen. If you don't have that, then the sense of purpose is lost and then things become difficult. So that's, in my opinion, these are three things. Could talk about 50 more, but I guess that will have to do for now.
Yes, to begin with, that was nice hearing from you, Vipul. Love, commitment or conviction, and empathy. So these three traits, if I look at them, they are for the people, by the people, and that's what a leader would love to do. So leader is not someone who would do a very self-owned act. but everything around the leader is meant to be for the people and by the people. And these are those traits which are not only meant for the people with whom a leader works, but leader himself will show such traits to the emerging leaders in his team, and they would love to follow these traits from you. So that was nice, inspiring, Vipul. Now the next thing is that whenever I go into such talk shows and when I talk about my title as crafting leaders, that's where the question comes, and that's where the debate is. How can you craft leaders? Now it's very much debatable. The title says that I am there to create leaders, and some say leaders are born, leaders cannot be made. According to you, what is your take on this? Can the leadership be taught and the skills be developed in anyone?
It's a very interesting question. Can really qualities, values, emotions be taught? Because if leadership is not about emotions, I don't understand what it is all about. So can emotions be taught? Most people are likely to say no, emotions are intrinsic part of your makeup. But in my opinion, brain and mind, and I'm treating them as two separate things, they are very plastic or elastic depending on how you want to really view it. What does it mean? That you can change your emotional makeup. From my own experience, I can tell you that from being a very aloof, remote, heartless person to be one who feels for everybody, I decided to change myself. Some things happened and I changed myself. The proof of my change was when somebody who knew me very well came to me and said, you are not the same person you used to be a year and a half ago. And how come that you have become more emotional, more considerate, and so on? And I was happy that I have been able to transform myself. So can love be taught? If love can be taught, yes, leadership can also be taught. Can love be taught? Indeed it can be taught. As I told you, this whole softer aspects of things, I was able to manage that. What is required is an understanding, do I want to be like that? Open your heart, and the neurons, they reconfigure themselves very easily. Everybody in their childhood would have heard stories, Mahabharata, Ramayana, maybe depending on different religions, different stories, but these stories teach you something. That's how sanskars are made. And not only stories, how you see your families behaving under adverse situations, under good situations, and what kind of things they teach you. One, by telling you to do certain things, other by their actions. And when they are not in tune, then of course you grow up confused. But when they are in tune, you understand this is how it is to be done. Now, those sanskars, that's how leaders are actually taught. That's how leaders are born, and that's how leaders are crafted. So, if leaders cannot be crafted, then you and I shouldn't be talking about it.
True, absolutely right. And that's, we'll go with this thought that, the research says that 1/3 of the leaders are born and 2/3 of the leaders are actually made. So we look at the fact that we have across the global, there are leadership programs, and like you said, that you and me would not be sitting here to craft the leaders, because there are so many programs in the globe to teach the leaders, to train the leaders, and to make the leaders. No one is guiding you for your values, but if you realize that this is something wrong that I am doing and it will not lead me very far, that's an awesome experience to have in itself. We all know that the core values are foundational blocks. They are the building blocks for any leader to take the decisions, and we always would want our established and emerging leaders to be on a path where they can show true integrity, they can show their authenticity, and then be called as leaders. So leader should not be a person that he is there and then people are not there to follow him. That person cannot be called a leader. Vipul, all this time that I have seen you and you've been a role model for me, you are a person full of ideas. I'm sure you don't get a sleep without having ideas in your mind. Now, how is it whenever you have to implement any idea, how do you get the buying of these ideas? You need a team to implement your ideas, but how is it that you go on convincing people about the ideas, or you get buying from them?
Interesting question, because very true, there are a lot of ideas. A switch happened one day when I found out that to have an idea to develop a product, for example, or to do something new is not very difficult. The ideas are always there. You need to latch on to them. And then, a product idea a day is what I started working on. So every day I would get a product idea, I would tweet about it, that somebody would actually start working on it, and so on. Mm-hmm. So, when you just tweet about an idea, when you just tell people this is an idea, you don't, of course, need a buy-in. You just hope that somebody will pick it up and will run with it. But then there are ideas you want to work on, the ideas that you deeply cherish and hold for long, and then there is an appropriate time for that idea to bear fruits. That's when you need to convince people at times. But before you can convince people, you need to convince yourself.
Absolutely.
Why would I really want to do it? Now, there are two ways to convince yourself. Have a very rational argument with yourself, look at the pros and cons, and do all sorts of management jargon, SWOT analysis, this, that, You can do all that and still be not able to arrive at a decision. I rather believe in working on at an emotional level. If this is an idea that I cherish, I hold dear, I ask myself, what am I willing to lose for that idea? Okay. Am I willing to put things at risk for implementing this idea, for doing something on it? Now, what are the things that I can put in risk? I can put money, I can put my time, I can put relationships at risk, and so on. How far am I willing to go with this idea? That's the question. And that's when I convince myself based on emotional appeal. And once I'm convinced about it, then it's a question of who do I need to run with me for these, implementation of these ideas. It's said that an idea resides in large number of people's head. It's actually in the air, and there are people who catch the idea. So there's a time which is right for an idea, and a lot of people get that idea. Rather than telling them why you want to do it, I tell them why I want to do it. I show them my honesty, sincerity, and what I'm willing to put at stake. If they're willing to come with that idea, I feel very happy about it. We work on that idea. But if I'm very convinced about it and there's nobody that I can find, then I do it myself. So that's essentially the whole gamut of things. Will I be able to do it myself? Now, there are not too many things one person can do. 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, 20, depending on one's capability. But beyond that, then you have to let the ideas just be there, or share it with other people, hoping that they will buy in and then run with your idea. You don't necessarily have to do it. So that's how I try to do it, convince people by appealing to their emotions, by appealing to the emotion of the idea as well. And if there's an emotional connect, I know people would do. If there's a logical connect, well, I'm not so really convinced about logical connects, because there are always pros and cons, and somebody with a better argument can always make you turn away from that idea.
True. And so Vipul is a perfect example, if I had to say, leading from the front. That's what he does. He is leading from the front all his ideas. Even though I asked Vipul that, Vipul, how do you need to get the buying from others on your ideas? Beautifully, he is quoted saying that he does a buying of his ideas from himself first. 90% of the job is done. Remaining 10%, he would connect with the people, connect with their emotions, try and make them understand the authenticity of his idea, and that's where it kicks off. So that was great, Vipul, the way you put it across. Now, there are other things, like now once the idea is implemented, you started it. There are times when many leaders, they feel that there has been some derailment on the path, some decision that has been taken did not take off so well, and the thing that was done could have been done in a better way. Did you ever face derailments in your life so far?
Absolutely. There's hardly anybody who can claim to be perfect and think of everything that's done in a very right way. Not possible, unless you are an enlightened, realized soul, which I am not. unfortunately. So what do you do in such cases, and why these things happen? Usually you land yourself in trouble when you attach too much desire to the outcome. So the derailment happens because of your wishes, which make you blind to the reality. You want certain thing to happen certain way, so all things which are contradictory to that, all contraindications, you don't really think about them, you don't really take cognizance of them. Sorry for that as well.
Okay.
When I started my company, a year and a half, we were doing pretty well, and we had a number of projects, number of people. Then unfortunately downturn happened, and some of our clients went bust. Now we had their teams and we didn't have the project. One easy way would have been to fire those teams, and the remaining projects were still profitable, the company could have continued. But firing people is not an easy decision, and except for very rare occasions when there were moral and ethical issues, I haven't fired anybody in my life. But in such a situation, when you have a large number of people and less number of projects, you burn money. And after a month or two, we were looking at burning all the savings that we had from all the past projects and so on, and we thought, if this continues like this, how are we going to be paying the salaries? And I lost my sleep. I could not sleep. I would lie down the whole night and keep thinking, where is the next project going to come from, where is the money going to come from, and so on. And when that happened 6 or 7 days, this was a first in my life. Before that, whenever the bigger the tension, the better the sleep. So I asked myself, is this for which I had started my own business, for which I had become an entrepreneur? And the answer came, definitely not. I didn't do this to lose my sleep. But how do you not lose sleep when you can see all your savings getting wiped out? How to not be worried? That was the question. And then I asked myself, is this situation in my control? No, the situation wasn't in my control. What could I do? Well, I could go and talk to more people, try to get more projects and so on. And what if even that doesn't help? Well, in the worst case, we'll run out of money, we'll have to tell people, and we'll have to let go, or maybe even close the business. People will call me a failure, somebody who had to close the business. Okay, so be it. If that is how it is supposed to be, so be it. I will try my best, but I'll not worry about results. So when success comes my way, I'm happy, and when failures, they come my way, I'm unhappy, but only for a very, very short duration. And sometimes I'm not even unhappy, because I accept whatever result has come. And then I try to see, what can I do to retrieve the situation? And if I cannot, forget it. So I thought about that. And I said, okay, I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to tell them that the company is undergoing this situation. I owe it to my people. I will tell them I have money to run the company for X number of months. And I will tell you when you need to start looking out. Nobody needs to worry. But the day it comes that some people need to look out, I would be the first one to tell you. And I slept very peacefully. Now, of course, I didn't go the next day and talk to everybody in the same vein, because it was not just only my company. It was a partnership, and there were other stakeholders. So I thought I'll talk to all of them, and I'll have to have their buy-in first, and then we'll go and talk to people. Interestingly, within the next 2 days, some projects landed our way, and we never had to announce it to the people, and everything just went peacefully. Since then, whether I have money or not to run a particular business, whether I have invested a huge amount of money and that has gone all down the drain, at least so far in my life, it doesn't get me down that way.
Excellent. It was nice hearing that there is so much of conviction in whatever Vipul shares. He is never putting himself down. His morale is always high. He's very confident leader in his own fraternity. Vipul, that's really good to hear that, we should be learning an art of detachment. Whenever a leader is claimed as a leader, the very next day he comes across various situations emotionally, physically, mentally, which can torture his life like hell. He might not have good sleeps, as you said. The bigger the tension, you get better sleep. But all this come after you've learned that art of detaching yourself from the situations. The moment you try to do that, you are probably preparing yourself better to take better decisions for the next task. Right, Vipul? That's how you want to portray to the emerging leaders?
Indeed, as I said, love, unconditional love for the people you work with. So if that's a situation which is a tough situation, why shoulder all the responsibility yourself? Tell the people about it, talk to them, figure out a solution, and if nothing still works, well, at least we tried. All of us tried together, and usually it is the togetherness and it is the intent which really lead the way most of the times. So I would say all the times, but then if you don't get the results you desire, even that's okay, but at least your love tells people that you were sincere, and all of us tried sincerely. And the interesting thing is, you would know that coming from the company I talked about, River Run, when River Run was closing down because people felt that it is their company, they had unconditional love for the company.
I totally agree.
Many people worked for many months without their salary just to get the company up running, have the product out, somehow earn money for the company. I know people who worked for 8-9 months without salary. Of course they could have found any other job, but they did not go for any other job till the last day, simply for this reason, because they loved the company and they thought we'll be able to turn it around. I don't think they regret that.
We had a beautiful bunch of leaders there, Vipul, if I have to share, and those are the leaders today in their own arena. They have flourished and they have had super success. They are at epitome of their success, I would say, in their own various professions. But today, if we look at the entire group, we are the same bunch of people who were there in River Run at that point of time, and we share the same kind of frequency and the level of talks anytime whenever we meet. The other thing that comes into mind, Vipul, you're very open-minded. You preach lot many times, walk the talk. And so when this comes to you, when you are very open-minded and you love to take your team together and go with your team, don't you face criticism, or there are people who would be a little offended by sometimes you being very open-minded, not being very diplomatic about certain situations, or maybe some change that you are going to bring in the company, and you just go forward, though you might be gentle, but then for sure there could be some critics and coming over and talking about it. So how do you handle that?
If I believe in something, I fight for it. And when I say fight, I mean argumentation. I mean giving honesty, I said, is very important. And when I do an argument, I do it very honestly. That means I don't spare any information.
So you don't bottle up everything, you still let go the things, yeah.
I try to say it as gently as possible, but still might offend people. I don't have a hang-up in seeking forgiveness. Other people may or may not be able to accept my apology. They might think it is just lip service, but I do it all sincerely, and many people understand that as well. And so there's all after a debate, we all understand that this debate was on a particular topic, not at a personal level, not at a person-to-person level. So people are able to essentially still reconcile, still be friends most of the times. If they don't, I try to, as I said, seek forgiveness from them. Tell them what I said was for intellectual honesty and not to offend you. If you still feel that I offended you, I still seek forgiveness, and we'll not debate about it again. But should the debate happen again, it will still be same honest debate, because I'll be doing you a disservice by not being honest in my views.
So criticism can invite some kind of argument, but as long as it is done in a manner where the other person's whatever he's talking about or suggestion is being considered, and then it is being openly talked about probably the argument also doesn't remain an argument, and criticism is also handled pretty well at your end, right?
I try to, although nobody likes criticism, not I as well. The first reaction might be a very strong negative reaction about criticism, but then you have to, if you are honest, you have to be honest to yourself as well. You have to accept that whether this is right or wrong doesn't matter. If somebody perceives it, this is how it is, that's the reality for him. So do I need to address that or do I not? So sometimes if I don't need to address that, for example, I would say, okay friend, that's how things are, but person to person we are still friends. And if that needs to be addressed, I try to change and then go back to that person and say, I agree with you, this is how I have tried to change me. Hopefully that's worked.
And many a times your charisma plays a role.
Yeah. I wish I had that charisma.
Yes, you do have. It was nice talking to you, Vipul. And with this thought, we come to a end of the talk show that I am conducting. Now, I am really humbled by your simplicity and your humility, and this has been an awesome experience talking to you on Crafting Leaders show. Friends, I'll be back again very soon with yet another show of Crafting Leaders, and with me would be sitting another leader who is from the same emerging leaders, I would say, group, or somewhat established leaders. Now, Vipul has been the best person in his testing fraternity, and he has demonstrated the super and the best art of innovation that he has done into the testing field. With that, I would like to thank you, Vipul, for coming over to my show and spending some time with us, giving insights of your journey and giving beautiful lessons to our leaders. Very soon, this talk should be up in the YouTube channel in the name of Crafting Leaders, and the viewers will get to see it very soon.
Thank you so much for saying those good things. I will try to be what you aspire me to be. So that's like a sort of a motivation for me to continue on that journey. Thank you so much for giving me that opportunity. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Vipul. Thank you so much. But before I end this show, I would like to say a beautiful quote on leadership. I believe in this. Leadership isn't about age, it's about influence, it's about impact, and it's about inspiration that you bring in. Thanks a lot, and thank you very much once again. Be tuned, and I'll be back soon.